Hi, this is Ashley Victoria Robinson coming to you from the Popverse, live from San Diego Comic-Con, and I am with one of the hardest working people in comics right now, Ram V. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. My pleasure to be here.
So, like I said, you are one of the most prolific writers right now. How many books are you currently working on?
At last count, I think 7, which is probably 4 too many.
How do you manage the workflow for that?
I don't have a life now. I guess it's important to have a routine, have some discipline, fixed times to sit down and write. I've been doing it for 5 years, and yeah, I guess it's just a matter of practice.
Ooh, practice and discipline. So Aquaman Andromeda is currently tearing apart social media. It's amazing. Everybody loves it.
Thank you so much.
Can you tell me a little bit about the ethos of that? How did it start? Where did your inspiration for this Arthur Curry story come from?
Yeah, I mean, the idea for it had been in my mind for quite some time. I've been a big fan of sort of space, survival, horror, deep sea sci-fi, if you will. And Black Label reached out to me, DC Black Label, and asked if I had a pitch in mind, what I wanted to do. And I said, my first words out of my mouth were, let me do deep sea horror Aquaman. And it was pretty easy from there on. Yeah.
It was pretty easy. They greenlit the movie immediately. It's going to be awesome.
Well, we're not supposed to talk about that.
I'm sorry. We'll put that on an embargo. We'll do it next time. I have a question because there's an important character in the story named Miss Vern.
Yeah.
Did you pick the name?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's a pretty obvious allusion to Jules Verne. Again, one of the first books that I read as a kid was 20,000 Leagues. So my love of deep sea horror sci-fi probably begins when I was a kid. Yeah.
So how many jump scares can people look forward to in coming issues? Because it's very moody, it's very mysterious, and when a tentacle makes an appearance in the first issue, it's very arresting.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really do jump scares. I think best kind of horror is when you trick people into scaring themselves. Which is why the anticipation, the foreboding, all of that, I really enjoy. And yeah, you can expect a lot of that, a lot of payoffs, and some jump scares in issue 2, and everything ramps up in issue 3.
You're also really known for your Swamp Thing run, which is incredible. And now you're on Aquaman. So a fire character next, a wind character next. You're going to collect all 4 elements?
Well, I don't think Captain Planet is in the DC pantheon. No. No, it just so happened I tend to have a lot of interest in, I suppose, kind of bigger forces, natural forces. The idea that there's something bigger than you that either doesn't care for you or cares for you too much. And I think that's a common human existential quandary. So all of these characters, Aquaman, Swamp Thing, even someone like Green Lantern.
Which Green Lantern?
Well, I do really like Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart. They're both big favorites. But no, I mean more in the sense that there's this big cosmic world beyond our own that we are made insignificant by. I like that idea, and that's what I'm using in both these books, Aquaman and Swamp Thing. Yeah.
I like that you bring up the idea that they could or could not care about us, or that maybe how much they care about us varies. So between the two, who do you think cares more, Aquaman or Swamp Thing?
I think Aquaman probably cares more because of his link to humanity. I think, if anything, Swamp Thing is cursed in that, like trees, they have to witness us fail over and over again and have the patience to stand by and offer shade. So.
How different is it to be focused down on a character like Swamp Thing or Aquaman versus your time on Justice League Dark?
I mean, it's quite different. Justice League Dark was a team. I know a lot of people are like, oh, team books are hard to write. No, actually, they're super easy to write because I just have to...
I said you're being shady, saying that, no, they're not that hard to write. Everyone says they're hard to write.
Yeah. I mean, it's just that... there's so many characters, you can just pivot to a different point of view and keep the momentum in the story going. Whereas something like a Swamp Thing or Aquaman is different in that you have to really get into the headspace of the character, find their sort of inner motivations to keep the story moving.
So a lot of people who are watching this probably want to create their own comics for DC or on their own. Other than writing 7 books and not having a life, what is your advice to people who want to create comic books?
Just focus on the work. I think a lot of people focus on things like, networking and reaching out to people. All that is great, but if you have really interesting stories to tell and a really interesting voice in which you're telling them, then everything else becomes a lot easier. So focus on the work, tell really cool stories, read a lot, read outside of comics, watch film, bring all of those influences in, and just be a good storyteller.
And then lastly, because in the Popverse, we celebrate the best of TV, movies, and comics, what are you geeking out about right now that you're not working on?
Well, I recently watched a movie called The Outfit, which was pretty amazing. I love watching films that people aren't talking about. So that's my sort of claim to geekdom, is I know all the films that are obscure and people aren't talking about, but The Outfit is great and everyone should watch it.
And where can everybody find you on social media, and how can they best support you?
I'm very active on Twitter, at the right Rom, as opposed to the wrong one. And I'm also on Instagram on Rom V Writes, even though I'm probably there a little less. But yeah, I found that social media, too many places is too much to handle, so Twitter is probably the best place to follow me.
Thank you so much for joining us at San Diego Comic-Con today.
My pleasure. Thank you.